Now we have to go to an expert, someone who is an award-winning actor, writer, producer, comedian. I mean, he does everything, and he's also been in a lot of these great sports movies that we've been talking about all week, and that is the one and only Robert Wuhl, who's joining us now. If you want to watch, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. Robert, I can't tell you how much we appreciate you coming on here. You are the authority on great sports movies.
I don't know if I'm the authority. First of all, thank you for having me on. Love the show. I've been watching both of you guys, listening to them for a long time on your previous shows, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, so before we get into what your contributions to great sports movies, of course, you were in Bull Durham, you were in Cobb, you were in Blue Chips. I mean, that's just to name a few. Before we get into the specifics of those, what makes a great sports movie in your opinion?
Well, there's different things. I mean, people like different types of movies. It's all subjective. What a great sports movie, it's like any other movie, great characters. Great characters usually make any kind of great narrative, any great story, whether it's a sports movie or it's To Kill a Mockingbird. Great characters make, now a couple of things that turn me off. As much as I like sport movie, I'm tough. For example, any movie where somebody starts clapping, and then another guy starts clapping, and then the whole team starts clapping, goes on my FOS list. That's full of, as you figured out. So Hoosiers is right out the window, okay? I like Hoosiers, and I watch it all the time because, to me, it's a good movie with an outstanding performance by Gene Hackman. But when any movie does that, goodbye. It's like, that's not real. You've all been in sports. Have you ever seen that in any locker room? No, only in movies. So that's out. And by the way, I loved some of your choices on the catch-all list. Maggie, Best in Show was a brilliant choice. By the way, if people don't think Best in, it's about competition at the highest level. And if you don't think Best in Show was a sports movie, then don't tell me Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Okay. But Robert, Big Lebowski, is that a sports movie? We're talking about a league bowling scene.
Again, I'll give it a wide berth. I'm going to give things a wide berth here. I love that choice. The Hustler is one of the great movies. It's Ron Shelton's favorite sports movie of all time. Usually, most things that don't come down to the big game is what I like. It's like the big game stuff is, it just doesn't happen much.
Okay. You mentioned Ron Shelton, and I know he's a household name for most people. Robert Wuhl, the award-winning actor, writer, producer, comedian, is joining us now. But Ron Shelton really is like the godfather of sports movies. Most notably, he wrote Bull Durham. I can't even say most notably because he's done so many incredible things, and you have teamed up with him on so many incredible things. I can go through, though, a little just for our audience. Bull Durham, White Men Can't Jump, Blue Chips, Cobb, The Great White Hype, Tin Cup. I didn't know he wrote Bad Boys 2. That was one I didn't understand. But Ron Shelton, when you mentioned that's one of his favorites, you worked with him and on some of these brilliant movies. But I thought what was interesting, Robert, you said, and you've told this before, your audition for Bull Durham couldn't have gone any worse.
Horrible. I was all over the place. It was a horrible audition, and afterwards Ron was saying, the casting director said, "I'm sorry, I apologize for bringing him in," and Ron said, "Yeah, it was pretty bad. Hire him immediately."
Why?
Well, because I improvised a lot in it, and he said a couple of things. One is we talked baseball, and he said a couple of things. One is Robert's going to add an energy that I don't have. And Ron, you see, what makes him great sports movies, Ron puts together a ball club, which I think has a lot to do with putting together a crew and a team. So you don't need everybody doing the same thing. Then you have a fantasy team and you don't have a real ball club. He wanted certain people. So like with me, he thought if I get in trouble in this movie, I can always cut to Robert and he's going to be doing some, hum baby, get two, something like that. And so he looked at me as that. So, and of course, we have a relationship. By the way, Ron Shelton's first sports screenplay, is worth seeing. It's a terrific movie called The Best of Times with Robin Williams and Kurt Russell about, again, high school athletics and the guy who dropped the winning touchdown against the rival, and they get to replay the game 20, 30 years later. So that's also Shelton.
Well, they got to get Bam Bam Mojo and Dickie LaRue back together. Everyone knows the key. We talked about it yesterday in our football movies, but I appreciate that. How important is realism? The fact that Kevin Costner could swing a bat to you. Have you ever had a movie ruined because the actor wasn't athletic enough?
There's quite a few. It depends how good the movie is. Sometimes we give people a pass. I mean, Gary Cooper couldn't swing a bat at all. He played Lou Gehrig and he won the Oscar. And he couldn't. Not only he was right-handed, he would actually hit the ball, run down to third base, and they would reverse the negative because he wasn't left-handed. It does affect, especially more and more nowadays, because we're much more sophisticated. I don't think it ruins movies. One of my movies that I have on the list is an example of that, of somebody who couldn't play but gave one of the great performances. Because my list is going to be a little bit different. My list is, I didn't do my favorites or the best. I went with five sports movies that every discerning fan, and I know your audience is a total discerning audience, they should see. These were five of the smaller movies. They're a little bit more esoteric at times, but they should see them because these are really good films with sports themes in them. And they really should see them. And you can watch them with your friends and go, they're not your Happy Gilmore and you're not your, Triumph for the Spirit type of movies. But
wait, Robert, before you do your movies, can we play the liner for you? Can we do this the right way? We have like this music, this big intro music. Let's do it the right way. Let's do this right. If we're going to have a multiple Emmy award winner in our midst, let's hit the music, Connor.
The Great Debate Series. Best Sports Movies.
Okay, that's your cue for Robert Wuhl's 5 sports movies every discerning sports fan should see.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
I'm going to start with a 2009 movie called Big Fan, written and directed by Robert Siegel, who also wrote The Rustler, starring Patton Oswalt. Little movie, a comedy drama about, you'll love this. It's about an obsessive sports talk caller and a huge fan of the Giants who one day gets beaten up by his hero on the Giants, and beaten up badly, and the choices and reactions he makes because he's such a fan. And in today's society, and gets into loyalty. It's a terrific movie that I highly recommend. By the way, the one thing about all these movies, they're not long. They're usually about an hour 40. So I've seen this movie 2 or 3 times. That's a terrific movie that I would suggest your audience sees.
A little too close to home for Maggie, maybe, as a former WFA
host? Well, it does, because a little bit. But at the same time, you're going to say, that is so real. That is so true. And the sports talk takes part of it, but just the whole idea of fans. It's about obsessive fans who take it to another level. It's a terrific movie, and it's funny. Number 2, a movie from 2011 called Win-Win, which was written and directed by Tom McCarthy, who later on went to write and direct Spotlight, the Oscar-winning movie about the Globe. Great movie. This is a terrific movie with Paul Giamatti and Amy Ryan and Bobby Cannavale. It's about a struggling New Jersey lawyer, and he's a volunteer wrestling coach. And he gets it over his head when he defrauds his client, but it turns out the client's grandson comes into his life and becomes the best wrestler on his team. And it's New Jersey. It's a terrific movie, and this is a terrific writer. So that's another one. From 2008, a small movie called Sugar. Sugar is a wonderful movie about a 17-year-old kid from the Dominican Republic. It starts out in the Dominican, and you see the life that they have there. Now, you will swear that this movie is a documentary, but it's not. These are actors, and it is sensational. It's about a kid who is a 17 Dominican kid, and he gets drafted by the Kansas City Royals, and they send him out of his comfort zone to Iowa and single A team, and the culture shock and the racism and the competition. It's a character study about a subset of sports, and it's minor league baseball that is just outstanding. Another one is I was going to say Slapshot, of course.
Of course.
Slapshot, it's brilliant. It's the amazing thing about Slapshot is that this is the most profane, violent, vulgar movie, and it was written by a woman. Nancy Dowd wrote the screenplay. You asked why Paul Newman did the movie. It was directed by George Roy Hill, the great Oscar-winning director, who had just directed Paul Newman's previous two movies, which were named Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Sting. Oh, that's why he did it.
Yeah, we've heard of him.
And that's so I won't go into Slapshot. The other one is a great movie called Bang the Drum Slowly from 1973. It's based on a novel by Thomas Harris, and it's about a Tom Seaver-esque pitcher who was holding out on his contract in those times. This is pre-Catfish Hunter. This is pre-free agency, and he's holding out as a contract, and he won't sign until he gets a caveat in his clause, in his contract, that says that his friend, the catcher, who is suffering from a fatal illness that nobody knows about, is on the team. So he gets his hospitalization. And it's a wonderful, wonderful movie. The thing about it, you talk about guys who can't play. Michael Moriarty, who starred in the original Law and Order, he's the pitcher, but the catcher, and this is 1973, I thought this guy can't play baseball because he's a hillbilly, but I was totally convinced he was an idiotic hillbilly from backwoods, and it gave a great performance. And it was an actor I'd never seen before by the name of Robert De Niro. Yeah. So this is a movie that's worth seeing. I would put an honorable mention of $1 Million Baby. I don't know if you discussed that when you talk about boxing films. $1 Million Baby, the Clint Eastwood film with Hilary Swank. And I don't know if you discussed this in baseball films, but what I think, and I'm sure everybody's seen this, but it's the most, in my feelings, the most underappreciated sports movie possibly of all time, because it's much more than just a comedy. It's about America at that time, and that is the original Bad News Bears.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Perloff had that on his list.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's about so much more than just baseball.
But, Robert, could you make that movie today? Could they ever make Walter Matthau pull it?
They did remake it. They did remake it, and it was awful because they had all the PC, and it was horrible with Billy Bob Thornton. No fault of his, but it was horrible. It just, you couldn't remake it because you couldn't say what the kids said in that movie, because it's a different world. Now, that's the nice things about these movies is you have to take all of them in period at their time.
Yes.
Because these are from the 70s and the early 2000s, and some of them. Another great movie.
Wait, but Robert, hold on though. Hold that thought. We're talking to the magnificent Robert Wuhl, award-winning actor. But to that point, right? You've been in movies that incredible sports movies that have held up, that didn't have to be a slice of that time, and now even 20, 30 years later, whatever it is, people still appreciate them. I mean, we talked on end about Bull Durham. You have one of the incredible lines in that movie when everyone's on the mound, and talking about what are we going to get, for the wedding, like, well, candlesticks. I mean, candlesticks is one of the all-time great lines, and it's not just that movie, but Blue Chips is another one that even today, people are still watching. So did you know while making those movies, wow, in 20 years and 30 years, people are still going to love this?
No. Well, Blue Chips is a little bit different. I was only there for a day or two. But with Bull Durham, remember, it's a little bit different because it's minor league. Just like Slapshot holds up. It's minor league. It's not the big money that today is. It's different. When it's minor leagues, it's better. Cobb is a period piece.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's...
You're great in that, though. And Tommy Lee Jones, you guys are excellent in that movie.
That's a real, that's a real, thank you. But that's, you have to, they're not, and none of these, by the way, come down to the big game. I don't think any of them do. By the way, Breaking Away was another great.
Yeah.
That's another. I'll tell Dennis, because Dennis, Quaid, and I were college classmates. So.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So I would, it's hard. I'll tell you another movie that I don't know if most of your audience has seen yet, again, possibly of its time, was Heaven Can Wait.
Yep.
Which was Warren Beatty. It's a great, that's when it starts to become big business. But it's also the original, Here Comes Mr. Jordan, was about boxing. They changed the sport. That's what, sports movies do that. I mean, and I'm not a sucker for sports movies. I watch them all. Some of them, it's tough to watch. Because, as Ron Shelton said, the reason that most sports movies suck, the reason that most of them suck is because they're told from the point of view of the fan. And the fan only cares about one thing. Did the team win or lose? They don't care how you got there, what you did to get there. They don't care. What Ron Shelton is different about, why Bull Durham is different, he goes, I don't know what the fan's thinking. I played second base. I know what the guy at second base is thinking. He's thinking I'm trying to keep my job. And that's different. There's no big game in Bull Durham. So it's that's different. I mean, we did that with Arliss, too. He was a guy trying to keep his job. He always felt. He was running a business and trying to keep his job.
So, by the way, I love Arliss.
So do I. Yeah.
A lot of people. Is Jerry Maguire? Is that a football movie? That was our debate the other day because I argued that Jerry had also some non-football clients. But
it's a sports movie for sure. Maguire's a terrific movie.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a true. The thing, I'll give a plug to watch HBO Max as all the Arliss is running now, which is nice because we wrapped that 20 years ago, and it's funny because now I'm hearing about all the subject matters we got into 20 years ago. We were dealing with gay athletes, transgender athletes, steroid abuse, domestic abuse, alcoholism with athletes. We dealt with all that
gambling.
stuff.
Didn't you have a gambling?
Gambling, absolutely, and it holds up. But what doesn't hold up is like the technology stuff, like our cell phones are bigger, and that you say okay, but otherwise the subject matter holds up.
Robert, what did you learn most about professional athletes, working with them so much and having so many of those cameos on Arliss?
Great question. Okay, here's what I learned: having over 250 athletes. This is what I learned about professional athletes. With rare exceptions. The skills differential between all these guys is about this much. What separates the good from the very good from the great and all-timers is their mental approach to the game, their head and their heart, but mostly the mental approach to the game. That's what separates these guys.
Interesting. Before we let you go, Robert, a lot of younger people here don't know about Alan Arkin and is an actor, a comedic actor. Could you just say a word about how incredible he was?
Alan Arkin is one of the great geniuses of our business. He did everything. You can watch anything from Wait Until Dark, where he plays the scariest villain of all time. And then you can watch him in The Russians Are Coming. He saw him in Little Miss Sunshine. He played the grandfather. He was in Argo. He played the movie producer. Alan Arkin was a brilliant. Alan Arkin wrote the original. You know what everybody, here's a sports fact. Whenever you hear Day-O, Day-O, Alan Arkin wrote that. He wrote the original Banana Boat song.
I thought it was Harry Belafonte.
Oh, Valley Belafonte sang it. It was originally done by what's it called? Not the Chieftain. It's he was part of a folk group, Alan Arkin, and he's one of the writers of Day-O, the Banana Boat.
And that's played in every stadium.
Every stadium.
Call and response with Day-O is in every single stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, Rob, we could do this all day. We've already taken up enough of your time. Thank you so much. Thank you for making your own sports movie list. We're so honored to have that and to have you on the show. We know you're a true sports fan.
Thank you. I'm sure your fans are going to hammer me.
Definitely.
They're merciless.
And also, these are older films, I have to say, but they should go back. I mean, just like anything else where you watch a classic. But those ones, Big Fan, Win-Win, Sugar, check those out.
For sure.
And those feel modern, I thought. I mean, listen, Eli
they're
Manning.
all of these are on either Amazon, look it up, Amazon, Hulu, Prime, YouTube, Vudu, Netflix. They're all on all of them, so you can check them out.
Yeah, I mean, big fan. They're talking about Eli Manning and Ahmad Bradshaw. Yeah. It's not that long ago, at least in my mind, it's not. Robert, thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Have a great July 4th holiday. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you. That's amazing.